If you like the look of this watercolored image from Good Morning Magnolia, I'll bet I can show you it's easier than you think. Hi, this is Sage Kimball and I'm the Mad Stamper with another watercolor technique video for card makers and paper crafters. I recently did a video showing the technique I used on this card. I used shimmery white cardstock because I wasn't going to use a lot of water, but you'll definitely need to use watercolor paper for today's technique. One thing that makes watercoloring easy is to heat emboss the image so the outlines won't bleed. If you need instructions on how to heat emboss, use the link provided to watch a video. I found that it can be difficult to get even coverage of ink with this image, especially with the fine lines in the center. In addition to the nature of the stamp, watercolor paper is stiffer and has more texture than shimmery white cardstock, which adds to the problem. That's why I use the stamparatus, so I can stamp the image as many times as it takes until I've got good coverage, even in the center. I've got a small cup of water, a folded paper towel, and the small-tipped Aqua Painter. I use it without any water in the barrel so I can control the water better. I'm using the Blushing Bride and Rococo Rose ink pads. I have a second paper towel to blot off excess water as I'm painting. I start by getting my brush wet, wiping off some of the moisture, then picking up some ink from the Blushing Bride pad. This won't hurt the pad as I'm just using water. I'm going to speed up the video so you can see all the painting I do in a reasonable amount of time. As you've seen in other videos, I like to keep turning the image around so I can keep the brush tip toward the outlines. That helps me keep from going outside of the lines. I paint the petals with a very light layer of Blushing Bride. This serves as a wash of color on the petals. I'm not trying for any contouring or shading, just a light background for each petal. I'm also not adding any ink to the center of the flower. I have other plans for that. I'll just finish up these last couple of petals and then we'll move on to create some contouring. Now I'll start adding Rococo Rose to create some contouring on the petals. I'm using a fairly dry brush again because I don't want these lines to blend into the Blushing Bride. I'm using the contour lines of the stamped image as a guide for the rose ink, but I'll paint the contours longer and wider than the inked ones. This helps give a sense of curves in the petals as well as adding overall dimension to the image. I'm going to leave the parts of the petals that look like they're folded over without any rose ink. That way they look like the light is hitting there, which makes the flower look more three-dimensional. Now I'm ready to paint the leaves. I'm using Mossy Meadow from the ink pad. It's much lighter than I expected. I did experiment with using a drop of refill, but it was too dark and dried too quickly to blend. It worked a little better if I added a drop of water, but I decided to use the ink pad and darken the leaves on the paper instead of mixing colors in a palette. I found that the soft suede ink worked great. Here I've picked up some soft suede from the ink pad and I'm painting over the Mossy Meadow. In areas where the Mossy Meadow is still damp, the two colors blend. If I wait for the green to dry, then I'll get more distinct brush strokes. I want the colors to blend a little but still show some contours. I just have to experiment to find the happy medium that will give me both. I'll edit out parts of coloring the rest of the leaves so it's not so repetitive. I'm painting them the same way I did the large leaf. At this point, I've finished painting all the leaves green, and I'm starting to go over each one with soft suede. As I have often said, watercoloring for our purposes is a very informal process. I get different results each time I color this flower. Don't feel like you have to get it perfect or that it has to look like mine. Just experiment and see what happens. If you don't like it, no big deal. Just emboss a new image and start again. That's how I learn too. You just don't see the rejects, but trust me, I have plenty of them. I'm going to color the center with a Mango Melody water-based marker. It gives me a nice saturated color and doesn't spread into the petals. You could use the Aqua Painter and Mango Melody ink pad instead. Just make sure you use a fairly dry brush so it doesn't spread. That's it. Now I have a lovely watercolored image that will add elegance to any card I put it on. I hope you're inspired to play with this technique in your craft room. It really isn't difficult, and the results are definitely worth a bit of trial and error. Thanks for watching. Please like this video, share it with your friends, and leave me a comment. For more inspiration and instructions, be sure to sign up for my newsletter at www.stampingmadly.com. Visit me on Facebook and Pinterest, and don't miss another great video. Subscribe to the Mad Stamper YouTube channel now.